Welcome to the Answering Science Policy Questions study tutorial. In this video, I am going to explain everything you need to know to do this task. But before that, I would like to explain the motivation and the reason we have designed a system to help us answer scientific questions about the U.S. National Science Foundation, or NSF. Each year, NSF provides funding for many scientists to perform research in various areas. Therefore, it is important to be able to understand their funding policies and priorities and answer questions such as how much they have spent on some specific area of research. For that reason, we have designed the system to help people understand and make sense of the NSF funding policies and priorities. Now, let's start with the basics of the system. This is the login page. Please enter your Upwork ID and click on Start. It will take a few minutes for the system to load. Once the system loads, you will see this page. At the top right corner, you see the timer. There are 3 total questions and you'll have approximately 20 minutes to answer each one. Here's an example question page. The question that you need to answer is shown at the top. Depending on the question, there may also be one or more definitions of technical terms shown here as well. The bottom half of the page shows some of the grants awarded only in 2016. Here's a search box that you can search within the full set of 10,000 grants, which we'll come back to in a minute. Next, you see some text that is divided in 2 columns. The themes on the left have been automatically extracted from the grants to try to give you a sense of the kinds of research areas that NSF funded in 2016. Each theme is represented by a set of words, which combined give you an overall sense of what that theme represents and what types of grants might be associated with it. In the right column, you see grants that are associated with the currently highlighted theme, along with the amount given for each grant. For example, this theme, which includes words proteins, DNA, and cellular, tells us that some of the grants had to do with biology, and those grant documents use these specific words a lot. These grants are ordered from the most related to the least related. You can click on each theme to see the associated grants with it. Now, how are we going to answer this question, which is about cybersecurity? First, you will review grants and mark ones that you think are relevant or irrelevant to the question. You won't have to mark all the grants since as you go, the system will observe what you're marking and will periodically suggest new grants to mark. Finally, the system will provide you with a summary of the grants you have deemed relevant, as well as additional ones it predicts are also relevant based on what you've selected. Remember, marking irrelevant grants is as important as marking relevant grants. If you don't mark irrelevant grants, the system will not be able to help you properly. To help determine if a grant is relevant or irrelevant, you can read the detailed description of it by clicking on the Read More. For example, reading the grant detail here and looking at the background information for this larger theme here, it looks like this grant is irrelevant to cybersecurity, so we will mark this as irrelevant. You should keep exploring the themes and their associated grants. You should also mark grants as relevant and irrelevant as you are doing so. Remember that you're only seeing a small set of total grants right now. These are the ones that are most closely associated with each of the teams. However, you can display other grants by searching for keywords using this feature, and the system will automatically show you the top 50 search results, still organized based on these teams. In each question, you can query for phrases after 3 minutes of exploring the themes and their grants. Now that we have spent 3 minutes exploring the themes and their associated grants, let's try querying for cybersecurity. What you see now are the top 50 grants that are related to cybersecurity. We can mark some or all of these as relevant or irrelevant. By default, the grants in each theme will be sorted based on their relevance to your search keyword. But you can also sort them based on the grant amount, for example, if you want to focus only on grants with high amounts. Once you're done going through the search results, just click on this X button next to the word to remove the search filter and see all the grants you had initially seen. In this view, grants are sorted based on their relevance to the theme by default. Similarly, you can sort them based on grant amounts as well. We encourage you to try to make multiple queries because different queries will expose you to different sets of grants. For example, for this question, in addition to cybersecurity, words such as privacy and internet security are reasonable queries to make. Periodically, after every 10 grants you mark, the system automatically identifies some grants that would be helpful for you to mark. These grants will be shown in a pop-up window that will open. There are 3 steps that you need to complete here. In step 1, you see 10 grants. These grants have been identified as being particularly useful for the system to learn about what you find relevant or irrelevant. Please mark each one carefully. Once you click Save, you will go to step 2. In step 2, you see 10 grants. The system thinks these grants are relevant. Please confirm or correct each one by marking it. To save time, you can select all of them as relevant or irrelevant. Finally, in step 3, you see 10 grants. The system thinks these grants are irrelevant. Again, please confirm or correct these predictions. You can select all of them as relevant or irrelevant. Once you are done with step 3 and you have saved, the pop-up will disappear and you can keep marking grants in the main window. Now, say you have marked enough grants and think that you are ready to see a summary of those grants and to answer the question. That's what this button is for. By clicking it, you'll get to another page that looks like this. If you want to go back to the previous page, just click on this back button and remember, not the browser's back button. In this page, you can review the grants that you marked before and answer the question. Here, you see some information about the relevant grants that you manually marked and some grants that the system has automatically identified as relevant. You can click on Show the Documents to see the grants in each category. Then you can inspect the content and start writing the answer based on what you have learned and seen in the content of these relevant grants. Now, what is this left panel for? You will use this information to find out about the grant amount statistics of the relevant grants and finally answer the question. You can include the amount of any sets of grants. The first set are the grants that you manually labeled. The second set includes the grants that the system has identified and is pretty confident about their relevance. The third set includes grants that the system has identified but is not so confident about their relevance. We encourage you to inspect the sets as much as you can to decide whether you want to include them in the amount. After inspecting the grant, we decide that because these grants are relevant, we want to include their amount in the final answer. So we select that and then we can answer the question using this amount. By clicking on Submit, your answer will be saved and you will be taken to the next question. Keep in mind that you will have a total of 20 minutes to answer each question. Try to mark as many grants as you can until you are ready to provide a good answer to the question. Once you are done answering all the questions, you'll be taken to a survey and then you will be finished. Thanks for your attention and good luck in the study.